opportunity to be up here. I don't want this to keep banging, but I grew up in a very nuclear family. I had an amazing childhood. Both parents, I never needed anything. I never wanted for anything. Life was good. It was like Leave It to Beaver, but with 2 little girls instead of 2 little boys. On top of that, when it came to school, I was like the definition of a teacher's pet and the goody two-shoes. When they had the DARE program in school and when health class talked about drugs, I never paid attention because I was never exposed to that. I never knew anyone that used drugs. I never knew anyone that smoked cigarettes. I never knew anyone that drank beer. So I just never paid attention to that part of it. Now, you know the 90s sitcoms or movies with the blonde valley girl that's like addicted to shopping and buying shoes? Well, that was me when it came to school. I was addicted to, or obsessive when it came to getting good grades, and I had to be in all the school clubs, not sports, but just like the Save a Tree Club and the Recycling Club, and I had to be like the best at all of that. So it was like obsessive behavior. As I got a little bit older and kids in school started getting little after school jobs at the pizza place or the ice cream place, I couldn't just get one after school job. I didn't even need to work. Mom and Dad took care of me, but I had to get like 6 after school jobs. Just because it was something inside of me, some type of obsessive behavior. I met a boy junior year in high school, and he was already knee deep into his addiction. But he didn't look like that stereotype of what I thought, you know, clean-cut Italian boy with a good car and good family. And like I said, unfortunately, he was already knee-deep into his heroin addiction. After being with him a while, it wasn't a matter of time before I turned and said, listen, I got to see what this is all about. Like, your day's consumed with this. And heroin was the first drug I ever tried. There was no gateway for me. And within 4 days, I called him. And I said, Larry, I don't feel so good. And I can use his name because I've been married to him for 16 years. Larry, I don't feel so good. I'm like throwing up and my legs hurt and I can't sleep and all those icky symptoms that we know of. And as soon as I got the heroin again, I felt better. But I still, life was good. Still didn't think anything of it. Within 6 months of that time frame, I overdosed at my senior prom. 15 days before graduation, I was told I couldn't graduate, even though I maintained a perfect GPA, because I had missed too many classes for either being too sick or too high. And all those after-school jobs, I lost all of them, but I was also prosecuted by most of them because I was stealing and doing horrible things. It wasn't long before I went from living into a close to $1 million home in a premier community with my parents to living under the overpass in Camden, waking up to some dead guy who I tapped and flies came out of his nose. And I just became accustomed to that after time. All those Sunday Italian dinners with the grandparents and the spaghetti and the gravy and everything, that was a luxury because food became secondary. There was a time I was walking through Camden and the candy Smarties? I found one single Smartie on the ground. It wasn't even in the wrapper. And I dove for it like it was a steak and potato dinner. I went from Ivy League schools looking at me to going to jail, contracting Mercer, and having 1/8 of an inch of my colon removed because physically I wasn't taking care of myself. My saving grace at the time, or so I thought, was getting pregnant and going on methadone maintenance. Methadone did help me start a foundation. I was able to go back to school, get a degree, start a successful business, as was my husband. We had the cars, the house, the money in the bank, and everything was well. And most importantly, I had 2 very healthy children that I am very blessed to have, all from the maintenance. But I never worked on my behaviors and what made me be that obsessive person. So since I never worked on them, it wasn't long before I came susceptible to going out again. This time around, I was approached by 2, now I guess it's DCP and PE, but back then it was DIFUS workers, who told me that I was not fit to take care of my children. Now you see the love I have for my children. I jump in front of a bus for them. I chop off my arms for them. But when you wave a bag in front of me, it's Cecilia who, Adeline who. At that time, I realized that I needed more than just methadone maintenance, even though it did help me to get so much and start a foundation. I started going to a 12-step fellowship, getting counseling on what was really going on with me. And I started working in the field of addiction and helping those who were actively using. Today, I don't forget. Today, when I lay in my mattress, my brand new mattress at night, I don't forget what it was like to live under that overpass. Today, when I go and buy my $3.19 latte at Dunkin' Donuts, I don't forget what it was like to die for that Smartie. When I fit my daughters for their Catholic school uniforms, I don't forget what it was like to be told that I couldn't even be left alone with my children. And today, when I go to hospitals to talk to those who have overdosed, I don't forget that the heroin out there right now with the fentanyl is a whole different ballpark than what it was 7-8 years ago, when it was just like mixed with baby formula and whatnot. And I can't forget that. So if I have 2 messages today, one would be that if this disease can take a little Catholic school girl, goody two-shoes teacher's pet, and make her homeless and a hardcore criminal junkie or whatever you want to call it, then it can affect anyone. And number 2, if you are out there and you are given the chance at recovery, don't forget. And that's all I have.